How well do the new Bose QuietComfort Ultra Gen 2 headphones compare with the Sony WH-1000XM6s? Well, in this video, we're going to be comparing both of these top-of-the-line noise-canceling headphones to see which one comes out on top. And at the end of this video, I will only be keeping one of these headphones, so stick around to find out which one I choose. What is up, people of the internet? My name is Avery and I'm a fourth year electrical engineering student at the University of British Columbia. Currently, I have a pair of Bose QuietComfort 45 headphones that are quite a few years old now, and I've been meaning to upgrade them to something with better noise canceling and more features. The two that immediately stood out as the best of the best in ANC headphones were, let me get them real quick, the well-established Sony WH-1000XM6 headphones, which still have a terrible name, and the new Bose QuietComfort Ultra Gen 2s. And let's just say that Amazon Prime Day gave me the perfect excuse to get each of these headphones to test out. So after 1 month of testing and even wearing both of these headphones on 2 separate flights from Toronto to Vancouver and back, here's my comparison of the Sony WH-1000XM6s versus the Bose QuietComfort Ultra Gen 2s. And as mentioned at the beginning, I will only be keeping the pair that I like the most. Without further ado, let's start with how these headphones look and feel. Starting off with the design, on the head, in my opinion, the Bose QC Ultra Gen 2s look much sleeker when wearing and don't stick out as much as the Sonys. That's one of the gripes that I have about the Sonys, which is that when you're wearing them, they're a little bit bulky in my opinion and kind of look like you're wearing Mickey Mouse ears. In terms of materials, I believe both are made of a plastic type material to keep them very lightweight. The Sonys have a more silicone-like matte black plastic around the ear cups, while the Bose opt for a more metallic matte black plastic with glossy metal yolks. To be honest, for the Bose QC Ultra Gen 2s, I really don't like these glossy elements and I wish they kept with the matte design from the Gen 1s. Both use faux leather ear cups and a faux leather headband, but Sony covers the top and bottom of the headband, while Bose just covers the bottom. In the end, looks and design are both subjective, but I'm gonna give the slight edge to Bose in this category just because they don't make me look like Mickey Mouse when I'm wearing them. Moving on to comfort, right off the bat, I find the Bose QC Ultra Gen 2s much more comfortable, with more spacious ear cups and more padding on the headband. I was easily able to wear these on the 4-hour flight back to Toronto from Vancouver with no issues with comfortability. The Sonys, they aren't bad, but I definitely noticed things like the headband not being as padded and the ear cups being less spacious. I can definitely feel my ears touching the inner lining in the Sonys while they don't in the Bose. And I also noticed that the clamping force is much greater on the Sonys as well. With the Bose, I also feel like the weight on the crown of my head is distributed a lot better compared to the Sonys. That being said, wearing the Sonys on a 5-hour flight from Toronto to Vancouver was not uncomfortable at all, and I did get used to them as I wore them more often. Also, because the clamping force is much greater on the Sonys, it puts less weight on the top of your head. With the Bose, I noticed that the headband is taking a lot more of the overall weight distribution, and although it's quite a lot more padded, after longer periods of wear, I can definitely start to feel more pressure at the crown of the head with the Bose. But in terms of overall comfort, I'm going to give the win to Bose in this category. Next up are the controls and usability of both headphones. The Bose have a single multi-purpose button on the right ear cup for play pause, skipping forward and backward, and switching noise cancelling modes, and a touch slider on the right ear cup for volume control. The Sonys have touch controls on the right ear cup for all media and volume controls, and a separate button on the left ear cup for switching noise cancelling modes. Personally, I like the Sony controls much better. They're much more intuitive and easy to remember, and the only downside will be during the winter if I'm wearing gloves. The multi-purpose button on the Bose is just way too small in my opinion for a button that is used for so many different functions. I've also noticed that for the volume slider, if you swipe too much, it might increase or decrease the volume much more than you expected. certainly happened with me. Lastly, I like how the Sony separate the noise cancelling / ambient mode control from the media controls, which makes it really easy to remember what control does what. So for the controls, I'm definitely giving the advantage to Sony in this category. Now on to the bread and butter of these headphones, the noise cancelling, and somewhat related to it, the transparency modes as well. To get a good test of both of these headphones noise cancelling, I took them both with me on my trip back to Vancouver for Thanksgiving, where I wore the Sonys on the 5-hour flight from Toronto to Vancouver and the Bose on the 4.5-hour flight from Vancouver to Toronto. And from my testing, in general, the noise cancelling on both of these headphones are really good. The Sonys notably were able to block out a crying baby about 6 rows behind me that was crying for almost the whole 5-hour flight back to Vancouver, which I was very impressed and eternally grateful for. Here's a little clip of what it sounded like on the plane. I also found that the Bose were able to block out a similar amount of noise as well. And if you turn up the volume to 50% on both of these headphones, you're not going to be hearing any outside noise on either of these headphones. So I'm very impressed. The transparency modes on both of these headphones are also both really good as well. The Bose, although they don't pump in as much sound compared to the Sonys, in my opinion, sound much more natural than the Sonys. With the Sonys, I can actually hear like the amplification of certain noises being pumped in, which allows me to hear more, but doesn't necessarily sound as natural. But both are really good, and you should have no problem conversing with someone with your headphones on or hearing cars driving by you for safety when you're walking on the sidewalk. One other feature that the Sonys have related to transparency is that if you place your hand on top of the right ear cup while noise cancellation is active, the headphones will toggle on transparency mode and lower the volume of your music, which they call quick attention. It was definitely useful for me when the flight attendant came by asking what drink I wanted, or at work if someone quickly came by my cubicle to ask me something while I was working. Moving on to sound quality, in general, you're probably not buying either of these headphones for their sound quality. And unfortunately, I'm not necessarily the best person to compare sound quality, as I'm not someone with very articulate ears. So I gave both of them to my dad and asked them what he noticed. What he said was that the bass was more full and voices were more pronounced on the Bose, which I did slightly agree with from my listening sessions as well. But he also thought that these differences were very minor and that they could easily be adjusted via the EQ settings in their respective apps. For me personally, I wouldn't say that there was an advantage of one over the other in this category, but if you do have more articulate ears, your mileage may vary. Now on to some other miscellaneous things that are different about each of these headphones. Let's start with the apps that you can use with both headphones to adjust certain settings. From my usage, I noticed that the Bose app is a whole lot simpler, as the headphones themselves don't have as many customizable features compared to the Sonys. The Sony Sound Connect app allows you to customize a lot with the Sonys, from a frequency EQ, enabling and disabling certain features like adaptive noise control, speak to chat, and spatial sound, and the levels of noise cancelling for certain modes. Now looking at the carrying cases, the Bose carry case is smaller, but the Sony's case is more stiff and closes via magnets. Another thing that I noticed is that when you naturally go to grab the headphones from the case, the Bose are already in the right orientation with the left side in your left hand, while you have to flip the Sonys around in your hands. However, if you're someone who likes to lay your headphones around your neck, the Sonys rest the cushion side on your neck, while the Bose rest the plastic of the outer ear cups on your neck. So pick your poison. Alright, lastly we're going to cover pricing and my final thoughts. The MSRP for both the Bose and the Sony's is $450 US or 600 Canadian dollars. However, when I bought both headphones on Amazon Prime Day, the Sony's were on sale for 100 Canadian dollars off, making them 500 Canadian dollars. The Bose headphones were not on sale, I'm assuming because they're still relatively new and haven't been out long enough for discounts to appear. I also expect the Sony's to go on sale for Black Friday and the holiday season coming up, but the Bose may not go on sale since they're still quite new. And now the moment that we've all been waiting for. Which headphones am I going to keep? Well, my choice between both these headphones is going to be, drumroll please, the Bose QuietComfort Ultra Gen 2s. The key reasons is that they are much more comfortable for me than the Sony's. I think they look better when I'm wearing them, and they also have a smaller and more symmetrical carrying case than the Sony's. However, the Sony's definitely have the edge over the Bose in their controls, the amount of features that they have, and the price, especially when they're on sale. So if you want to save a bit of money and you're okay with the comfort of the Sony's, you like the extra features, and you prefer either the sound signature or the touch controls, definitely get the Sony's instead. But to be honest, you really can't go wrong with either of these headphones, and it's really a matter of what you prioritize. Anyways, that's been it for this comparison between the Bose QuietComfort Ultra Gen 2s and the Sony WH-1000XM6s. Let me know in the comments below which one you would choose or your experiences with either of these headphones. And as always, gently tap the like button, hit that subscribe button, and ring that notification bell to be notified whenever I release a new video. With that being said, I hope this video brought you value, and I'll catch you in the next one. Peace out.